I told my wife, listen, like I told you before, it will happen for sure. They'll call me, and I'm sorry for that. But I need to take you to your sister, which lives in the same neighborhood, and then I need to take my car and go to my parents, because my parents, well, first they live very near, and secondly, luckily because we weren't home, all my equipment, my army equipment, is by my parents because they have a lot of space. So I put it over there. So I went there. I took my equipment. I spoke with a friend because I needed a ride to get there, because I wanted to leave the car for my wife so she will be able to move later. And then, like, I remember he came and he picked me up, and we driving, like it is still Shabbat. It's like, I think it's the first time, maybe the second, that I need to do something like this on Shabbat. And like the roads were empty. It was like the air. It was intense. Like we could feel like something big is happening. My years was about like 5.5 and 3 years old. But the most important thing that I forgot to mention is that during this time, and that was in the 9th month of her pregnancy, she was supposed to give birth in the beginning of November. I think it was the 1st of November, or maybe the 8th of November. So she was right at the beginning of the 9th month of the pregnancy. She had family. Like, luckily, her parents, which are usually, they actually made Aliyah 2 months ago, but like back then, they normally wasn't in Israel, but they came for Sukkot, and it was supposed to go just after Simchat Torah, but then they stayed for like another month to be with her and with their sisters, which also lives in Israel. But at the beginning, she was mixed. Like, she didn't want me to go because she was afraid for me, and she didn't want to stay alone, like, for the pregnancy. She was afraid that she will have to go to the hospital alone. But she also knew, like, there is no other option. Like, everybody should go, and everybody, like, we're not alone in this. Not in the bad, not in the good. I'm not sure how much they understand, but apparently later it was pretty difficult for them. Like, we also moved, and we were new in the neighborhood, which didn't help. But I heard, like, later that when they go to the kindergarten, it wasn't easy for them. Like, one time there was a siren. They were still in Petach Tikva, not in Netanya, and they went to play outside. And there was a siren, and like the little one, the 3 years old, she was just frozen. And normally, like, I didn't see her. I wasn't there then, but my wife told me, like, you could see that she understands that something is wrong. It's not like as it should be. So it wasn't easy for them as well. And I remember that they called me every time and said, when do you come? When do you come? We don't want you to go back to the army. But like I said, listen, I don't want to, but that's what we need to do. They took us to bases called Lachish. The reason it's very administratively, like, the commander of our Chativa is just the commander of this basis, so it was easy that we'll stay there. And then we started to train, because, like, usually we train, I don't know, like every few months we have 1 day or few days that we train, but like we needed to get better. And then, like, that was Sunday, and Monday, like in the morning, they took us to another place to train, and then, like, we start, and after 30 minutes, half an hour, they just call us and say, okay, we need you. You're going to Kfar Aza, which then nobody, like, we knew there were like horrors there, but nobody knew if there are still terrorists inside or there aren't, or what is the situation. And we said, okay, we arranged our equipment. We moved through a place which is called Somet Kama. And it was like, the air was about, like, it's like we're going to a war. It was like how we felt. It's in the south, but there are a lot of civilians that, like, they give a lot of stuff, and they encourage us and pray with us and all the stuff. And from there we went to Kfar Aza, but we didn't go to Kfar Aza with the boss because they were afraid there are still terrorists inside. So we went to Saad, and from there we went by foot to Kfar Aza, which is 2 kilometers, not so far away, but it took a lot of time because they were afraid they are terrorists. And I remember before we got to Saad, like the bus is going through the roads in Otef Aza. It was like, it's the first time that we saw what really happens. Like we see burned cars, we see a stroller outside of a car, all of it is broken. It's like, it seems like a massacre was made over there because it seems horrible. I remember this was the first time we actually got what happened. Like we saw it in our eyes, and we saw it was presence. Like in the footage, it's far away from me. Yeah, it's still horrified, but like it's not the same when you see it in your eyes. It's like it's really different. It's really present. We get to Kfar Aza, we are walking very slowly, like we were watching out if that something would happen. And I remember we after like I don't know a few. There are also like every time there is a sirens. Yeah, it's like I'm saying like it's happened a few minutes, but like few hours when there are sirens all the time, and you can see all the missiles go above our head. And then we get into Kfar Aza, and then like I remember there was a car. The car was on. It was turned on. Like you could hear the engine, and I remember that everybody said there is a body inside the car. It was a kind of SUV, but not to look at this, not to touch the Jeep because you didn't know if it has eggs on it or it could explode. So we shouldn't touch it. And I remember there was a smell of the body, and we was like, this was the shock. This is like where we will sit. It not just we can touch it. We didn't, but it's like very, very close to us. Then we've been there like for a day. Afterwards, we went to the industrial area of Kfar Aza, and we also there. We saw cars which had bullets inside, and like luckily not all the terrified things. We didn't see like the houses with the people inside. Like, and I feel lucky for not seeing that because I know this was horrible. But I also remember, like we've been there for a day, and they said, okay, you come back to your bases. But when you got back there, outside of Kfar Aza, there was like a big truck of Zaka, and it was like full of black sacks with bodies inside. Like again, I didn't want to look for this because it doesn't make any good to see it. But I remember it was like a very, very, very big truck and was like full of bodies, and that's how we saw what like because we also had our cell phones with us, so we can read the news and we can see the numbers, but like it's not the same when you see the things themselves and read about it. It's just not the same. We went through the road of Akim, and we got back very, very late. And then like for another week or something, we stayed in the bases. We got trained every day, like from morning to till night. We got a lot of training, like, and also during this time, like, when you say supper or dinner, it's not just dinner, it's like barbecue, because that's what happened every day. Every day we were spoiled by all the civilians that wanted to help. And we felt like how all Am Israel was supporting us, like Am Israel which lives in Israel and Am Israel outside of Israel. All the support was felt really well, and we really appreciated this. And after a week or so, they wake us up in the middle of the night. It was 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, and they say we need to go. Okay, we need to go to their bosses. They will take us, and we say, okay, where? And they say, or to the south or to the north. And I'm like, okay, that's possible. Yeah, I guess we go or to the south or to the north. We didn't know what's happening. And then after a few hours, bosses came and they took us to the north, to the Golan. And they said because they were afraid of Hezbollah or something will happen, they wanted us to stay there and to get involved if something is happening. And we've been there for about 3 weeks, which we continued to train because nobody knew if we'll go to Lebanon or to Gaza, what happened. And during all this time, like everybody says, what's happening with us? Why they don't get us to fight inside Gaza? Like, use us. And Einat was in the ninth month of the pregnancy, and she was like, "When do you come back? When will you come back?" And I remember like the first time they got us for 24 hours, like at home. It like was brute 24 hours. We went early in the morning. We had to go later in the morning to get back, and it was like the first time I saw my wife and my daughters after about 4 weeks, 3 weeks or 4 weeks. It was like incredible. Like usually my daughters prefer my wife, and I completely understand why. Yeah, it's like there is no doubt why they prefer us. Like when I came back, they would like stick to me and hug me all the time, and like I saw how difficult it was for them to be alone. So then we got for like 24 hours, and like a week and a half later, we were supposed to go like all of our unit for Shabbat at home. And before that, my commander told me that because my wife should give birth like every day, they will let me to stay at home until she will give birth. And it was like Thursday evening. Then the night between Tuesday and Friday, my wife, she's called me, and I told her we should come later in the morning. He told me that water broke, so she needs to go to the hospital. It was like 1 o'clock, I remember. And then I said, okay, I will tell him that I need to get. And she said, no, I'm fine. I'll just get to the hospital, and you should come directly to the hospital. But I heard that we go on 5 o'clock instead of 11, so I knew there is time I could make it. So Friday morning, if I'm going, I'm really nervous. Like, just get out. Let's get out from here because I need to go. I went to Tel Aviv. My father, he gave me a ride to the hospital. Baruch Hashem, and that was very calm down. She know that now I'm coming, and she no need to be nervous. We still had few hours. Like they asked her, like, you don't have to deliver now, but would you want us to get you to do the things that get it faster? So she said, I don't mind that you give it to me, but just after my husband is coming. So I came there like, it was 9 o'clock. And Friday evening, my third daughter, Ariel, she was born. Sweet, pure, and it was amazing. Like the transfer from being in the army, like to get ready to a combat, and like to the hospital with a lot of babies, and it was like a very big change for me. So Motzei Shabbat, I told my commander that my wife, she gave birth, and he said, you know what, you will stay there until we call you back. You can stay at home. And later on Sunday, all my unit, they got back from the north to Lachish, where they were before. I came back, but apparently it was delayed. Well, what we needed to do, it was postponed like for 1 day more. So I stayed there for Shabbat. And then on Sunday morning, they told us like they decided to cancel what we had to do. And then we should go to just 24 hours at home. And then these 24 hours became 48, and then 72. And then it became every day they told us there are more 24 hours. And like we've been at home for like a week. Also, something very important to mention, like during this week, we had to leave one volunteer to stay. Like every 24 months, we had a volunteer to stay and to guard our equipment. So like we had one guy of our team, his name is Neria. He was single. Most of the guys are married and with like 3, 4, 5, 8 kids. But he was single. So most of the time he volunteered. He said, no, you need to be with your family. I will get her. I will stay there. So he stayed, and afterwards he will replaced by somebody else. And then we came back for another week in our bases. And they also told us that we can go on Tuesday until Sunday. So they said you need volunteers to stay. So I said, okay, I didn't stay in the last week. I need to stay now. So okay, I stayed like the first 24 hours, but then we need to find somebody else to stay. And I remember Neria, he told us like, no worries, I'm staying. And we told him, no, you already stayed. You don't need to stay one more time. And usually it was like a very, very shy guy. You didn't hear him. It wasn't so loud. But like when he argued with us about that, like he was so determined, like we saw there was no way to move him from that. And he said, no, you have family. I'm fine with that. I'm staying. And he also stayed like for the second time. He stayed for this Shabbat. Later on the week, we understood like it's coming very soon. We will enter very soon. We had like how do you say, like a training like in the rain, and we knew it like it aims to what gonna happen like later. And like the Friday after this, we knew we will stay for Shabbat, and we had a feeling like after Shabbat we will enter Gaza. And because of that, my unit they made like a sort of a happening for the families, so the families could come and visit us in this Friday. It was like delightful to see my wife and my girls, like also the baby, which I haven't seen for a week. And then we knew like that Motzash we should enter Gaza. They took our phones, so we want to be able to speak and to give information about it, so it won't leak. And actually, it wasn't my first time in Gaza, because in Tzuk Eitan back then in 2014, I've already been in Gaza. It was for 2 weeks and a half. And that's why I wasn't so stressed to go inside one more time, because like I was familiar with it. I know it's not normal, but like I know what's gonna happen like approximately. And I remember like my friends asked me how is that. I said like, okay, you go for a week, you go 1 day off, another week, but it's gonna end very soon. And I wasn't prepared that it will take like so much time, because this is not how it happened last time. So I also remember my friend Neria, he asked me, how is that? I said like listen, usually everybody is good. Yeah, sure, there are a few that are not lucky and got hurt, but like the normal people, they will just be fine. Like you shouldn't worry. Okay, we got into, it's called, I think it was near, like I don't know where. It's like near, and we started to go, but we started to go in the area of Israel, like for I don't know, few hours. It was in the 2 a.m. and we're starting to go, and we get into Gaza, and like we all felt it's like, okay, it's like I don't know, sort of going into the park. Like nobody felt that something is gonna happen. We were like we were friends. Like half of my team, they are my friends for I don't know, it's like almost 14 years. But even the others, after like I don't know, 2.5 months together, like we became very very close. So we had a very good time with each other, and it was feeling like having I don't know, hiking with friends. No more than that. It was like nobody thought that something is going to happen. And then it was about I think 2 p.m. Half of my team they walked forward to the next point where we should get, and me and the other half of the team we stayed in a place. And then one of them, he thought he saw somebody in with black clothes in house over there, like we shouldn't be there. And we're like he started to shoot about this man, but it wasn't sure. And then The problem with that was that like there were soldiers in this area before, so we couldn't know for sure if it was soldiers or terrorists, and we were very afraid to hurt our friends. And then there was a tank, and we felt like something was shot on this tank, and two guys, they were just flew in the air and fell. They were all good, but like we were laughing about it because nothing happened. We didn't know what happened. And then I remember that I heard like one of the commanders says in the, it's like the radio, how do you say it? The kesher? Yeah, sort of. It's like, yeah, it's sort of walkie-talkie. That somebody got hurt, but like from another team, not from our team. And we said, okay, this became serious. I hope he's fine. But nobody knew what happening. And then, like, after, like, I don't know how to describe it because I remember it took a lot of time, but it seems like just few minutes. And I remember they called us, they told us to take the sacks of our other friends, which they left them there because they need to get progress without the sacks because the sacks are very heavy. So usually you just drop them, you go, you conquer the house or where you should go, and then you come back and take your sacks. So they told us to take their sacks. We didn't know what really happened. We heard that they called to the medical team to arrive, but we didn't know what happened. And then I remember one of my friends, again, I didn't know what happened in the time, but I will tell later. But I remember his face. It was very, like it was blank, and it was shock. We couldn't speak with him. Just go there. What happened? He's dying. He's dying. He's dying for sure. It's like, who are you talking about? I didn't understand what they're talking about. And just later, like I don't know, an hour later, I understood that they spoke about Neria, the guy I mentioned before, who volunteered to stay because he knew it was very important for the other people to be with their families. So apparently, what happened is like half of the team, like they were in a certain point, and then Neria he saw a light in the trees, and he asked if he can shoot for this because he suspected there is somebody there. So he took one shot, and then like the guy near him, he just saw him dropping. So he said, okay, maybe just getting ready for another shot, and then just he understood. He felt like he felt. I'm sorry that he fell, and they called my commander. They tried to evacuate him, but apparently it was just one shot that got from here through there, and just it hurt like a very critical point in his body, and unfortunately he was died like on the spot. But we didn't know that at the time. Like we just know that they evacuated him. We didn't know what his status. We knew it's not so good, but like we knew it's bad. We didn't know how much. And I remember it's also like felt like a mess because of that. We came back to another area of Gaza, and we stayed through the night. And I remember the morning later, our commander he gathered us all together, and he told us that that unfortunately Neria was he was dead, and it was a shock because we knew it theoretically it could happen, but normally you just think, okay, it will happen to somebody else or not happen to anyone at all, but not to someone which is close to me. It was a big shock, mostly for his friend. Like I have friends in my team that are with me for 14 years, so he had his friends that were with him for 70 years. He was 36 at the time, so he's 36 years old at the time. And like they were very close for him. Also but like they are together for 17 years. We were with him for 1 year. So It's not the same, and it was like at this point we were very low. Like we knew we need to get ourselves together and like to function and to do what's needed. But like for the closest friends, I understand it was very very difficult. Like one of them, he wanted to get out, so there was a psychologist over there. He told him that he should stay for at least 2 days, and then just to deal with it, because otherwise he won't deal with it and it will hurt him. I haven't been there exactly, so what I know is just from story, like I heard many times, but from several people who like they told almost the same thing, but I can't be sure what really happened because I haven't been there. I've been like I don't know, 50 meters, maybe 100 meters from there, but like I wasn't there and I didn't know what happened like at the same time. In my team, we were 17 people. And I remember like it was just before Hanukkah. So Thursday was the first day of Hanukkah, and we made Adlakat Nerot together. Our commander, he said few words for the memory of Neria, because also its name is like the candle of God. So it's the light of God. So he said several words for his memory. And later on Friday, we had a talk, all our team together, and we said that it's difficult, that's for sure, but we don't have any other option than just getting ourselves together and be happy again. Because a lot of people they refused to laugh, like they refused to make jokes, they refused to be happy because they felt guilty that like they're fine and he is, so they couldn't be happy and couldn't do anything. And we said like for the atmosphere, it's really important that we'll be together and like we have a good time, because otherwise you just make it more difficult to stay there, because we didn't have phones, so we couldn't speak with our families, and we didn't have anyone else but one each other. So we had to stay together. And after a week or something, we moved to another point. We got to like deeper in Gaza. Ambush area, it's like area full of houses and full of tunnels, and also like those. So that's what we started to do for, I don't know, like a few weeks. We've been there for like 3 weeks. And then after that, they said, okay, you can go home. We will take you out for, well, usually everyone else got 48 hours. But for us, since we haven't been in Neria's grave till then, because we didn't go out, they said, okay, you can get 72 hours. And the other day you will use to go to visit Neria and his parents, which we didn't see till then. Then I got home very, very late because it's far away. It's like I got home, I don't know, it was 12 o'clock or something. And my wife, she waited for me. She was very happy to see me. Also the girls, like in the morning after. I remember like I took him to the kindergarten and they said, but don't go to the army, don't go back to the army. You will take us, right? You will take us back from the kindergarten. And I was very happy to stay with them. But like after 3 days, we had to come back. We came back for another, I don't know, a week or two. I think it was 2 weeks. Which during this time, unfortunately, like we saw, like I said, like every day we went to the houses like in around, and we stayed there maybe for 24 hours, like approximately less or more. And like in one time, I remember, again, it's like, it's very surrealistic. It doesn't feel like a war, because most of the time you shoot, but nobody shoots back at you. So like you feel like you are in the middle of a training or something like that. And then I remember we were, I don't know how to explain it. Like it was the area, there was like the area down and the area above, like the house. It's like a mountain or something. It's not a mountain, but like something like that. And I remember, like again, we heard like a whistle and we see something like flies above us, like. And then we heard again in the walkie-talkie that like somebody else, which we saw just 2 minutes ago. Like 2 minutes ago, we walk by us, and we asked him. There were like a military, there were force of engineering, and like usually the engineering they have black shoes. They are like in the army, there are black shoes and the red shoes. Like paratroopers have red shoes. I don't know, the engineering, the tanks, they have like black shoes. We asked him, why do you have red shoes? There was like one guy from the engineering. He said, because I want to be better. Like I want to be like different from everybody else. And just 2 minutes after, apparently an anti-tanks missile just hurt him. And he was like, and again, it shows you that like it's very fragile. Like 2 minutes ago, you saw somebody was happy, was telling jokes, and like 2 minutes later, and he got hurt. And like it's again like for few of the guys, because of what happened to Neria, it's like going for the same things all over again. Like they felt the stress. In my unit, like the only guy who fell, it's Neria, and there is like the other guy from the engineer that was like under our unit, but they're not originally from our unit. But these are the only two guys from our unit that fall. One is Neria, and the other is called Tal Shua. Yeah, also it's like it's breaking because afterwards we heard that he was married and he has a little child, and it's like it's very hard. Like again, in our routine, there was like every day we heard the radio. Like this was our only connection to the outside, and like every day, every the news, the opening is like it's called utar lefilsum, like it means you can publish that like who got hurt, and it was like very difficult to hear it. It's like every time we hear it, like I don't know, it's like there is a kvetch in our heart. In Khan Yunis, I've been almost 2 months, from December 3rd to January 28th. For me, she's the real hero. That's for sure. She's very strong, and I'm sure it wasn't very simple for her as well. So as I said, her parents they've been here for like the first month until she got birth and until she gave birth, and like a week after maybe. But I've been there like this week, so it wasn't that necessary. The community helped her, and like, but mainly she was very strong to handle this by herself. Like it wasn't simple. It means to take the girls to the kindergarten every day, and here in Netanya, it's actually it's very new to us that you need to make the breakfast, because in Petach Tikva you don't need to do this. So this is how it works. But she did it all for them and took them to the chugim and like took care of them, because also for the girls it wasn't so simple. They were very, very worried and very, very hard to be in a new area, which they didn't know anyone before. But she was she was the hero. Like I think for her it was more difficult than for me. And also, last thing I want to mention, it's about Neria from my team who got killed. So there are just two stories about him. Like there was one during the time that we were trained in the north. Our team, our like original duty was to be part of the evacuation forces, like less a combat force, but like to help the evacuation and to be with them. And most of the people didn't want to do that because they were like be more combat and more in the front and etc. And there was like a very big argument with the commander. What will they do with us, and what are they going to do? And I remember Neria said, like, I don't care what you will give me to do. I can be a driver of a truck and I can do whatever you let me do. I just want to be part of these guys. I want to be with these guys and I want to help in any way I can help. It doesn't matter how. And also, I heard it after that before we got into Gaza, in this, like in the last Friday, he called to his family. and he said to his sister that he's happy, he's not worried that we are going into Gaza because he wanted to be part of something big. Like every day, he didn't miss every one day of Miluim. He was there every time. He got just on time and he didn't go late. And it was like very important to him. It was very big part of his life. So at least he did something that was very important for him, very meaningful for him. And then what he was dedicated for, in the full meaning of being dedicated. He was really a part of something big. I just need to say, I feel like everybody says that it's like very common and everybody will say it, but I'm really happy that the people I've been there with, the people I've been there with. I wouldn't replace them for any other people because they're really great. Like there is a very good mixture of abilities and nature and characters. It's like it was the perfect mix for me, at least.